Hello, and welcome to the Johnversations Podcast. As always, I am your host, John Connor, and you are tuned into episode number 41. This week's guests are a Nashville-based powerhouse country group whose new album, The Highway, is available now. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, please welcome Jess Paige, Drew Haley, Kristen Kae, three members of the Highway Women. Thank you guys so much for being here. I have to tell you, I've been listening to the record. The Highway the single gets stuck in my head. My wife is like, stop singing that song. So I really, really enjoy it. Oh, actually, it looks like Bailey is hopping on. I think we have Bailey.
Oh, maybe.
Yay! Awesome.
Well, all right.
Cool. So we got Bailey as well. All four of the Highway Women. It just made my evening. So
awesome.
Welcome, Bailey. Thank you for being here.
What's up? I'm on the road, so I look like crap. Ignore that.
That's all right. I'm at home and I look like crap, so don't feel bad.
So I was like, at least, Drubus and Kristen look great. Bailey's on the road, and I've been at the laundromat, so.
For the two ragamuffins, just ignore us.
Well,
I know.
Definitely.
I was like, man, I'm out of pants. I've been working and been gone. I got to do laundry. I'm not going to have pants for work.
Well, I will say this. This is not to objectify anyone, but you guys all look lovely, and I really, really appreciate you guys being here and hanging out.
Thank you.
I did want to ask, I want to talk about the album. I also want to talk about your initiative, but I have to start off by asking you guys, like, I come from a background of I've played in bands, I've toured, I'm a singer-songwriter, things like that. And I know, I've been out of the game since before COVID, so it hasn't been that much of an impact on me. But when I think about like back to my touring days and pushing a record and being at band practice and stuff like that, like how have you guys been doing with COVID? Has it been a struggle for you guys? Are you finding ways to, still do your thing virtually? Talk to me a little bit about what's been going on there.
Well,
you go ahead. COVID for me has been actually really, from a creative standpoint, I've been very productive. I have singles for, a whole year now. And so writing, I got a lot of time to reflect, and you don't get that often. So I felt very, very creative during COVID. You have to get creative. So I thought it was a good time for me. I think it was stressful, but it brought out some really amazing songs.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Bailey. Is there, anybody else have any feedback, or Drew or Kristen or Jess? Or
I would say, because sorry, that we haven't been able to do live shows, I know, and that's been its own struggle, of course. But I definitely think it's been cool getting to focus, kind of like Bailey said, on the music. And we've been putting out like a lot of music and putting together music videos. So we've still been doing stuff, and honestly, it's been interesting because this is the most busy we've ever been somehow or another. So
that's awesome.
That's lucky.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to add, my focus has totally shifted from, touring and shows, live performances, obviously, to just recording and the music videos we put out. And it's definitely been kind of a roll with the punches kind of year. And I feel like there's more surprises all the time. You just never know. 2020. But also I would say I wasn't as creative this year overall as I hoped I would have been. I think it was mainly because all the stress, all the pressure, the financial pressure it put on me, just personally and professionally in every way. I really typically write a lot more songs. So I'm hoping I got it all bottled up in there. So I'm hoping that, when I finally do sit down, I'm just going to lock the door and stay in my room for weeks and just put out a bunch of songs and just get it all out. But yeah, it's been an interesting year. Now,
I definitely agree with you there. It's I think there's a lot of people who, when COVID first started, they were like, we're going to use this year to I'm going to learn how to sew, or I'm going to do, do something crazy. And then, you get into it for like 2 weeks. You're like, never mind. I can't, I don't have the emotional fortitude to do this. So as songwriters, has that helped in processing, for those who have been creative, has that helped in kind of processing some of the emotions you guys have been feeling this year?
Yes. Yeah. I think this year, actually for me, I think it was different for everybody, but emotionally, I got everything out there and I laid it all on the table because the few years before were the same way. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to pour out all my emotions. Everyone right now, we need to be real and we need to be truthful with each other. So I would say yes.
That's all. Yeah, I mean, I know that's. I mean, I still write and things like that, and that's something that I've been doing. Even if nobody hears it, it's just like a good therapy to be like.
Oh yeah, it's better than therapy.
Yeah, it's free. It doesn't cost anything, so that's good.
Yeah.
There's no copay for writing a song, so that's good. Well, I wanted to ask you guys this too, because I've been checking you out on social media and things like that, and you guys have a very strong fan base. How did you guys how did the four of you find each other? How did that happen?
Well, that was pretty much our manager, Jill Pavel. She's the one who sort of put this all together. She in different ways found us all individually and was like really impressed with what we were doing as solo artists, and then was like, hey, I think you'd be a great member of this Highway Women project. And she started all of it. So, but it's interesting because we all came from like different places, but we've all like become so close as like real sisters. So it's a really special project.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it seems like it's cool that somebody kind of found you guys and said, I think you would mesh well together. And then when you guys actually get together, it pays off. I think there's probably a lot of situations where, you put people together and then it doesn't, that chemistry isn't there. What do you think it is for you guys that kind of solidifies that chemistry between you? Or did you feel it right away, or was it something that you had to work at?
I think it's all honestly just because we're all so different. Because I feel like if you put four people together that are the same in every aspect, it's not going to work because it's too much of one thing and everyone is just going to be boring. So I think it's the fact that all four of us are so different, and not only just like our music styles, but also who we are, our creative styles, our styles in general with clothes and just our personalities and all that. I think that from my standpoint, I think that's what makes it work and what makes it so awesome and so unique is because we all four bring something completely different to the table and to the group.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really cool when, like I said, when you can get four different personalities, but there's some kind of common thread that allows you guys to be linked together or to be able to create off each other. You know what I mean? It's especially, if it's like from a situation where you think of people like, the Temptations, who they knew each other very young and then, form this group and things like that. And that happens kind of organically. So it's cool to capture that when someone says like, hey, I think this could work. So I mean, it's pretty awesome.
I think we Drew, y'all.
Well, yeah, I noticed. Wait,
Do what?
are you back now?
Oh, there she is.
Back.
For a minute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having to do this on my phone. So I was just checking when I'm not talking. I'm listening, but I'm just I'm trying to do it all.
No, trust me. If anybody understands Wi-Fi connection issues, it's me. So.
Yeah, it's the COVID interview year, so it's
Drew's pulling
you work with
Jess
what you have. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the record because you guys have been putting out music, and then this record just came out in November. And I will say, like, I'm from Metro Detroit, but my mom growing up, shout out to anybody listening in Michigan, but we had a station 99.5 Young Country, and I grew up and it was, Clint Black and Martina McBride and Reba. And I have such a fondness for this particular era of country music. And when I listen to you guys, it takes me back there, but it also has a very modern take to it. Like it's not trying to be that, but it feels like it has its roots in that. So was that kind of the same for you guys? I mean, did you kind of feed off of that when you were younger?
Oh, I'm definitely an 80s and 90s country baby. Like, that's all I listen to. Like, I'm the token redneck of the group. And so if it is 80s or like I won't listen to any country made after like 2002. I can't do it. It's just not my style. So if it's, I'll even do like some 70s country, but if it's 80s and 90s country, I know every song like the back of my hand. And so that's where I got a lot of mine from. And coming into this with some of the songs that, you know, they've written, like the girls have written and stuff. And even with the Highway, it does remind me somewhat of like some story songs that you would get from, you know, like Sarah Evans or Martina McBride or Terry Clark or, you know, Reba and people like that back in the 90s when story songs were like a huge thing. And, you know, that was back with CMT. You would wake up every morning, get ready for school at 6 a.m. and you'd watch the top 20 countdown. And, you know, back when actual TV stations were playing music videos. And I think ours, like, it just really reminds me a lot of those in the aspect of not only the writing, but the music style itself. And then as well, like kind of the video, like the girls and everybody did a really good job on writing those songs. And that's the reason I love singing them so much, is because it reminds me of what I grew up listening to and still listen to, because I refuse to like move on with my life and listen to any stuff. But just because it's my favorite. So that's why I enjoy it. And that's why it's so much fun for me to sing all these songs with these girls.
Yeah, I would say that I think it's because all of us are old souls. Like, honestly, I think we all listen to older music way more than we listen to modern. We're the ones having our team be like, well, if you add this element and this element, then it will be modern. And we're like, okay, cool, because we don't know.
We have no idea. I'm like, you got any steel guitar, maybe some banjo you want to throw in there? I mean,
Yeah.
More banjo.
Little pedal steel, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cowbell. Always use a cowbell.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, Shake the Dust is when you talk about like the storytelling song. I think that's a really good example off the album. And for people listening, the album is on Spotify. You can stream it wherever you stream music. So if you're like, oh, this sounds cool, just pause it, go listen, and then come back. But it really was like when I first heard it, was like a time machine for me. Like I like imagine myself like being in the van. I'm the oldest of four, so like all four kids, and you know we're singing John Michael Montgomery super loud because we all knew all the words. You know what I mean? So it's I don't know, but then again, it's also not like it's not like you're just there's new elements to that. So you know, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this too, especially because you know with you guys feeling like you're old souls and having those elements. Talk to me a little bit about like what the writing process is for you guys, because I would imagine with four personalities, and I mean this is my first time meeting you, but you seem that you know all four of you are headstrong and have your own you know answers to questions and opinions and voices. So what is it like for all four of you guys? What's that process like when you're trying to put a song together?
I think writing for me, my best songs come when I'm not trying to write. So if I sit down and try to write, they're definitely not my best songs. I actually wrote a song the other day because I heard this line on the TV and I thought, oh, I've never heard those words spoken like that before. And so it'll come at the most random times and I just have to sit down and let those emotions out. I think the most well-written songs come when you're either going through a really tough time or it just comes to you in the middle of nowhere, like it's meant to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. My wife has pointed out that like I have a tendency to write more when I'm like sad or upset about something. So she's like, you don't have very many happy songs. They're mostly, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's when I have to like work it out. If I'm feeling good, like I don't feel the urge to like sit down somewhere. So I think that's a really good call out where it's, hey, there's something on my mind, or whether it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion, like I've got to work this out. And sometimes it's pen to paper. Do all of you guys write individually and then bring it to the group, or do you guys ever write together, or what's that like?
Well, so far we do some together, but so far it's mostly been like solo stuff, and then we kind of bring it to each other, and then we're like, hey, you want to add this? Like, for example, The Highway was actually an idea that was brought to us from our guitarist, Dallas Duff. And he was like, hey, I think this would be a really cool idea. And then I was like, hey, I really like it. So I sat down with him, and we actually co-wrote that song together. So it's kind of interesting. It happens different like every time.
That's cool. I think it kind of speaks to, again, you know, when you're putting together four different people in that chemistry, it's like, you've got to have that fluidity to be like, oh yeah, like I love this idea. I think, what if we did this, or have that ability to kind of bounce things off each other. I would say even to have that ability to have the confidence to say, hey guys, like, what do you think of this? Because I know, when I was playing music, I would go to the band and say like, hey, I wrote this. I don't know if you guys are going to like it. And then we would build it. But just to have that confidence to kind of put something out and see what other people think of it. I think that's, especially from a musician standpoint. I mean, do you guys feel at all sometimes that it's scary to kind of put your emotions out there for, anyone with Spotify to hear them?
I mean, absolutely. Especially like with the EP that I put out this year, one of the songs on it, I'm talking about, I wrote that song right after I told my dad I was filing for divorce. Like it was just, and it just poured out. It was one of those. And that was like one of the most vulnerable songs I've written. But yeah, that's hard to put out there, like it's very personal, and I'm actually a pretty private person, but not when it comes to songwriting. You got to let all those walls down. You got to be real, you got to let it speak for itself. And yeah, that was hard. That was really tough for me to put out.
Yeah. And I think that's very brave, you know what I mean? Especially with a topic like that, to be like, hey, like, I'm going through this personally. The one thing that I equated to is like, if you've never heard Garth Brooks before, but everybody knows who Garth Brooks is, right? But if I was to play you, the Thunder Rolls or, something from his earlier stuff, you'd be like, well, how does, like, he's got all this money. How does he, like, how is this even like a real thing? And I think for some people, it's hard to remember that, like, you weren't always at this level. You know what I mean? Like, you have to start and write those songs based on experience, and those experiences are what paid off to get you to that level, So I think there's the most successful people are the people who are willing to be vulnerable in that way. I think it's very cool that you're able to open yourself up and do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what was the recording process like for you guys? I mean, was it like, did you guys record here in Nashville? I know, you guys have your own band and things like that, but was it local? Talk a little bit about, how it was to make the record.
Well, I will say for the highway and just the last couple songs, pretty much everything we've recorded, vocals in Beard Music Group in Nashville. And then sometimes we've done the full production, like Shake the Dust, the full production was done with them. Sometimes we worked with other producers and sent the stems to them. So we've just kind of been doing a variety of things. And obviously a lot of things kind of changed when COVID hit. So things were a little different. And so we did a lot more like, well, here's us with our vocals and sending it to somebody else that's somewhere else, and then kind of like compiling it. And so I've never really done it that way. I'm usually like doing it all in studio at once. So it kind of is a little different every time, but basically we all just kind of like run through the main line, and then we kind of add in harmonies and be like, oh, that's a cool idea, or we should add that, and kind of just figure it out as we go.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm really intrigued by the fact that you guys are so able to kind of work with each other so easily. I don't know. And I think that really shines through in the record. The production is really solid. The performances are all really, really solid as well. Like, I'm a harmony guy, so hearing the 4-part harmonies, I'm just like, this shit is awesome. You know what I mean?
The harmonies.
Yeah.
We love the harmonies.
Yeah. Yes, we really love each other. I think that comes through. We actually enjoy each other's presence, and
and you can
that's
tell.
why we harmonize.
You can tell even through Zoom. You know what I mean? Like, you guys, it's very clear that you guys have a very loving relationship with each other. It watching you guys feels like FaceTiming my family. You know what I mean? Just it's good to see you guys.
Thank you.
So again, the record is amazing, and it's super, super. If you're a fan of that era of country, but you still like, because I'm with Jess, like anything after like 2002, it kind of blurs the line between being more pop to me, more pop sensible than country. So if you are a fan of that era and like want to hear a new take on it, definitely check out The Highway. But I also wanted to ask, because Jess, you guys have the Be a Highway Woman initiative, and I know you guys had the write up in Forbes, so that must have been pretty rad to be in Forbes magazine. So explain what that is, and I want people, I know what it is and I can give a breakdown, but I want the people at home to hear it from the people who created it. So if one of you guys would kind of like to talk about that initiative.
Well, everyone's looking at me. Well, Be a Highway Women honestly is a project that we started because we have seen so many females in this industry kind of struggle to break through and get equal play and all that kind of stuff. And we were like, so many people talk about how they're going to like help female artists, and they talk a lot, but they don't really do a lot. They don't make a lot of action. And so we were like, we're going to start this, and we're going to say that this is our us taking action and being like, here's our way of helping out other female artists and saying, hey, we support you, and kind of changing, things to be like, hey, females can support females, because as much as it's like sometimes people feel like, oh, it's just the guys, and it's like sometimes the females are against females almost as much, and we just kind of like try to show that through our group as well, like that the four of us are female artists, solo artists, but we also like support each other, and we just want to show people like you don't have to be in competition, like you can support your fellow girl. So yeah.
Yes, what she said.
Now, and I think that's really, I think that's really cool. My wife is in mental health, and that is a profession where it is, statistically mostly women. And on this podcast, we've really tried to have equal voice and showcase, women with interesting projects and things like that. I feel like there's so much out there, especially playing in, I played in a lot of like emo and pop punk bands, and it was very male dominated. And there was a lot of really talented women as I was, growing up, and people that I was in awe of. And it seemed like they had to work twice as hard to get the respect that, someone may get who isn't even as a fraction, as talented as that person. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. What's the response that you guys have been getting? I mean, has it been, have you seen a lot of people? I know you guys have an Instagram for Be a Highway Woman that, people can join and stuff like that. I mean, have you had a good response? You have a lot of people like reaching out, wanting to be involved. How's that been?
Yes, there's people from all over the United States, all over the world reaching out to be a part of it. And I'm really pleased to see that. As Kristen said, there's too many times, especially in Nashville, where they say they support women, but it's not really that case. And you can talk and talk and talk, but the difference here is that we're actually taking the action, and people are noticing that. So I think it's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you guys have the record label behind you as well has like partnered, right? If I remember reading the article correctly. So like, I mean, you guys are giving a platform or a launching off place for people to get that mutual respect, which I think is really, really cool. Drew, I know, you have another engagement. I don't want to keep you too long. Do you have to hop off or?
Oh no, I got 10 minutes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't trying to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sometimes I get long-winded, and then people are like, bro, wrap it up. I gotta go.
You're good. I'm sorry. I don't want to rush you.
No, you're okay. I appreciate you guys being here, so I wanted to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's time. I did want to ask, with the record coming out, right, and then with this initiative, people kind of talk about it as like, oh, I can't wait for 2021, as if like January 1st, all of a sudden everything's going to be like a whole new world, right? But hopefully it will be better. Like for you guys right now, what's the next step for you, or what do you guys envision? Once hopefully, once this COVID is settled down and everything like that, like what do you envision as far as moving forward?
Well, the thing we're the most worried about is trying to tour. That's our number one on our minds, I think, right now. I mean, yes, we're still making music and we're still going to put out videos and all of that like we're doing, but we definitely want to get back to the live shows. We want to go everywhere, meet all the amazing fans that we've made online, you know? So obviously we don't know when that's going to happen, but we're all praying super hard that live shows come back, not only for us, but for everyone, because I think everyone just misses live music so much.
Yeah, I know for me, and I still, I hate to even put it this way, but like when I was playing, I equated playing live to almost like a drug, because it's an energy, especially when the crowd is into it. It's an energy that like you can't.
It's adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think unless you're someone who's been on that stage and has received that, I don't think you can really put it into words. So, I mean, like I said, my band has been done. We played our last show in like 10 years ago. So it's still now even like, I'm just like, oh, I missed that. You know what I mean? So like, you know, how has it been for you guys kind of dealing with that? And I don't know. I just like, I'm trying to think of like what it's going to feel like when you finally do get to step on that stage for the first time after, you know, what is it, a year or longer, you know what I mean? Just like how hard it's going to hit, you know?
I tell you, like, I can't wait. I played my last show in March. I mean, like a weekend before, like everything started to shut down. So, man, if I would have known that was my last show for the rest of the year, I would have gone on, you know.
I would have played the hell out of that show.
Man, I would have made it last. No, I miss it so much. And crap. I don't really get into the live streaming shows as much, just because I feed off the energy of the crowd a lot. Like, that's so much for me. I've just had a hard time with like the Insta Live stuff. And I mean, I'm doing it, you know, because you have to. But I mean, I tell you, I really want live shows to come back very soon.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you're saying, actually, John. Like about how like just that high. You can't. I mean, there's nothing that can replace that. I feel like honestly, when the whole lockdown started, it was not only that we were all locked down, sitting inside our houses, inside of four walls, and it's making us crazy, but also like. That's like, I feel like as a musician, that's our one of our major ways to kind of like let loose and let it all go and just like be in the moment, and like not having that release and being like, that's not going to be a thing. And then as the months go on and on and on, and then this is still a thing. We're like, so we're really not going to do this for a while.
Right.
And then just trying to mentally like switch yourself to knowing like, well, you're going to have to do something else because this isn't going to be your thing. I don't think there's anything that can replace that, kind of like Drew said. I mean, yes, you can go live on Facebook and all of that, but it's not the same. I mean, I'm glad we have it so that, you know, we can still talk to our fans and still play some music out for them. But yeah, I agree. I need live music to come back.
Yeah. And I don't think, and maybe you guys can comment on this too, but like, I also like, number one, it's important for you guys, but I've been just blown away by, you know, you go on Instagram or Facebook and it's like, it's people just being like, when can I go back to a concert? Like, I miss seeing live music. So it's two sides of the same coin. Like you get that experience and that rush from doing it. But then, you know, the people who come to see you, they're getting that payoff in the same way. But then I think you have to factor in is that, you know, for people like you, that's your livelihood, you know, like Drew was saying, if she would have known that was her last show, I mean, I'm the kind of guy I've been like, last show for a year, I'm doing 7 encores. Like, what do you guys think?
I mean, there's the other side is that there's musicians who have to start playing out again because we have to make money.
Yep.
And so I played a show and I got COVID. And so there's that side where you have to be super careful, and it's really hard trying to find that in between. I love playing out, but I did not want to get COVID.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think that's on anybody's wish list. I'm glad that like you're here with us now, and it seems like
I've recovered.
Worked that. That's awesome. Some snaps for that, for sure. It's just like, and that's, I think the crazy thing about being in Nashville too, is like, I've had some stand-up comedians on the show and other musicians, and, Jamar Neighbors, who was on the show, he's in California. He's like, man, you guys are still doing comedy clubs in Nashville. Like, I'm going to book a show in Nashville, 'cause I can't do anything here in California. So it's like, you've got the option to do something, but then you've got that personal weight of like, is this worth me getting sick or like getting somebody else sick? And I don't know. I can't imagine what that trying to find that balance would be like right now,
Yeah. It's hard no matter what you do. I kind of am like, I respect whatever people do and I understand like where they're coming from, but it's a hard decision no matter what you do.
Yeah, I agree. And it's especially a time where like, I don't know, I feel like I will honestly say, like, listening to your album, it took me back to a place where I remember having a lot of compassion, like being in that young age, and especially in a time like now, I'm like, oh, anything that I can do to like get that feeling back inside of my chest. So like I was mainlining your album for like a week. It's like, I love this. So we were in the car and my wife was like, you've been singing the same song for a week. You stop.
I love it.
So last thing I wanted to ask you guys, because again, I want to be respectful of your time, and I just, I know you're all in different places, and I appreciate you zooming in to talk, but
I'm just making Christmas cookies.
I'll give you my address if you want to send some. So I wanted to ask, well, two things. So am I correct in what I think? Was there a new little highway woman who was born, or a highway child born recently? Or am I wrong? I thought I saw a picture of
Heather Harper.
Yeah.
Baby.
Oh, okay. I was going through and I was like, oh, there's the highway baby born somewhere. So
I thought you were talking about me. I'm like, I'm 17. I'm the youngest in the group. I might be the baby.
I know, like, I was thinking too. I was like, Bills? Baby Bills?
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I saw a photo and I was like, oh, I wonder if there was a new little highway baby brought into the world. But my
I was sitting here thinking, talking about the little girl from the Christmas show.
I know. About that too.
We did a Christmas show yesterday, and since Drew wasn't there, we made her our mini Drew. She had blonde hair.
Y'all didn't tell me that.
I forgot.
She was like 6, maybe. I think she might have been like 5.
She was so cute. She was a ham bone.
Her name was Adley.
She probably acted more mature than me too.
Well, if she's listening, shout out to Adley.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Mini Drew.
Oh.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys this to kind of close out. We've been talking about it a little bit, but with this being such a hard year on artists and musicians and I mean, really anybody in the arts, if people check out your music, they want to support you. If your fans are listening to this and they want to support you directly, because like Spotify is great, it gets your music out there and stuff like that, but like, as far as what goes into your pockets, there, different artists prefer different things to kind of help make the bills and things like that. So, for people who are listening that want to support you guys directly, what is the absolute best way for them to do that?
I mean, I guess go on our website. You can actually buy our EP. You can buy a physical CD, and we signed all of them. And then we had some photos that are on there as well. There's going to be some more things added, I believe, very soon. So definitely stay tuned on our website. But of course, always go out and buy our music. That would be awesome. Wherever you buy music on iTunes and all of that, we really appreciate that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I really appreciate you ladies taking the time to kind of hang out and jump on your phones and laptops and chill out in the car and talk to me for a little bit. I really appreciate it. Again, I absolutely love the record. If you guys are listening, Spotify, go in, search Highway Women. The record is called The Highway. First, listen to The Highway because you're going to be singing it all week, and then listen to Shake the Dust, and then just you can write in, leave us a message on the Anchor page. Just thank us later for the suggestions. But I just want to say, Kristen, Jess, Bailey, Drew, thank you guys so much for being here. Will you stick around for a minute after we wrap up?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
No problem. Thank you guys. That's
Thank you, John.
No, my pleasure. You guys are episode 41. I can't even believe that we've been on this long. So it's just awesome to have you guys, and any record, anytime you ever want to come back, we would absolutely love to have you. Maybe next time in person if the world's a little bit different.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we will see you guys next week for episode 42. This is Johnversations Podcast saying see you later.